Take me to somebody else's church in another dimension, GPT-3. I'm gonna burn that bitch to the ground. I wouldn't want it to be here.
Let's go ahead and open things up today with a question that might seem like it's incredibly unrelated to the title of the video. So if you guys go to 3v1b.co/live, link is in the description. You've all been there for some of the warm-up animations. I want you to just make an estimate for the following question. It looks like a couple of you have already started coming in with answers.
All the answers. But specifically,
consider the numbers
if you choose,
between 1 trillion
you are this wrong.
and a trillion plus 1,000.
3 wrong,
Okay, so
4
range of
wrong,
1,000
neural
integers,
net.
that's pretty high.
Because this is schizo.
Which of the
What do you mean it's
following
schizo?
would you
What are you
guess
doing
is
here when he
closest
finds this
to the
very
proportion of
interesting
these numbers
solution?
that are prime?
One, most
So if you were to go
commonly
through
these
the
basing
painstaking
gravity here.
process of, looking at
When
all of those numbers between a trillion
arbitrarily
and a trillion plus 1,000, considering
well,
which of them are
roads an
prime,
arbitrary
what do you
sequence
guess
of
is the relevant
AX,
proportion there? So don't
BX
worry
for
about getting it right
Fermats
or
on
wrong.
deals.
I'm mostly
They don't know where they're
curious,
positioned
people's
inside here,
intuitions
neither do we.
So while we don't
I couldn't.
necessarily have
This
to do
is
those
how this
painstaking
test is
calculations,
formed, but
I have gone ahead and
given
written up a simple program that can do that
parallel
for
of
us.
that
So if
value,
we hop on over to
you would
Python,
be 3
it's
wrong.
not exactly the
It
most
would be
sophisticated
1, 3,
program for getting primes in the
2B,
world, but
1B.
it'll get the job done for us. So if I type something like get primes between 0 and 50,
And so realistically, like I
take
said,
a
you
look.
would be
Okay, it's
wrong
got
this
2,
much
3,
because
5,
it's
7.
schizo on the
All your favorite
adjustment
prime
of a
numbers
number. When
between 0 and
people
50,
take enough
you're
of
gonna
the
find them there.
ASVAB,
But maybe you don't
and
like
the
that
gear
range,
force
maybe you wanna
ratio
look
is
between
they
1,000 and 1,000.
why choose C being the right
And
answer, and I
there you go.
understand.
There's the primes between 1,000
They
and
understand a
1,050.
course lecture
And
of
there's fewer.
that is that, and
In
it might be a
general, as you get
random
bigger and
guess,
bigger,
hit and
the primes
miss,
get sparser and
grayscale.
sparser.
But based on the
Essentially because
system, it
each
still
one
does what
has
the
more
autonomous
options for what it
nature of
could factor
83
into.
does.
If you're just doing
Playing
the guess and check
42
on
on that
something like
breadboard.
143, you just have to check all the numbers up to around its square root.
A little light over
Whereas
this
if
one.
you're checking
Yes,
around a trillion, you
0.
have to check
Yes,
on the order
0.
of
Put it through the
something
machine.
like a
I'll put a
million
heat
numbers,
back
all the
guy, right?
primes up to a million, whether or not they go into it. So you might think that when we, let's say we define the list where we're going to get all of the
China,
primes,
Putin, you got an ear on?
primes
Good signal.
between a trillion, which is 10 to the 12th, and a trillion.
Because when it goes through the
1,000.
pipes of the radio signals about why I
this
can't
involves a lot of
infiltrate
number
that area
crunching
to
to actually
determine
find those primes.
whether
And
it's
you can
not
see
the best
by the
security
fact
force
that,
of that system.
the
I
program
fucked
I
up my
wrote isn't
numbers
gonna be
because
the
that
most efficient
number
thing in the
is
world.
just
It takes a little bit of
generally
time
America
before it
as
gets
much
there.
as it's
So
just
we
generally
can
Russia
look
or
at that
China
list in
or
just a
Paris
moment.
Island.
But before, I want to
Anyways.
properly take a look at what everybody thinks.
Switch
And we have
cheese
a
grater
great
factory
split.
for this wizard
Oh, I
over
love
there at this
questions
point.
that split up the audience like this. That's always fun. So what do you think? What do you think is the actual density of primes up there? Ooh, the correct answer is only
know.
third
Did I get
place.
that one
Usually
where
in
Don,
lockdown math,
the old
correct answer is
schooler to the
always the top, so this
grandmother,
is
whips
exciting
out
for
the
me.
D12
It seems
manual
like
from the
most,
table saw?
the largest number of people thought that one out of 250, that there would only be 4 primes in that range. After that, it was people who thought only 1 in 1,000. That up there, primes are so rare
we're
they
back
only
to
come 1 in
you
every 1,000.
are
The correct
here.
answer, the closest proportion here would have been 1 in 25. So a lot more frequent than people might have thought. And what's
Maybe if
interesting
I
is
saw the
actually,
answer
if you ask
wrong.
this
But
question
is
to a
that just the
mathematician,
psychology
they
trick
would be
on
able
math?
to,
Because what is
pretty
1/25?
quickly
1
tell you what
quarter?
the correct answer is.
It would
not
be
because
this
they're doing all that
library,
number
all
crunching.
the things in
And
this
fact,
quadrant of the library.
if you were to talk to a mathematician, they would look at this problem. They would do a
42
small
would
little
get real
calculation in their
goddamn
head,
blinky
and they'd say,
inside.
the closest is 1 in 25, but really it's going to be closer to
Shotgun
1 in every
batters.
27 or 28. That would be a bit more accurate. You might wonder how they
Always
do
top
that.
right,
Because if we look at the
25%.
number crunching that
The
our
answer's in there,
computer
Mars
had to
base.
do, it had to check all of the potential factors for all of the numbers we were looking at.
It's definitely in
And
there
it
for
does
Ruth
give us
Beltol's.
all of the primes
It
between
wouldn't matter
a
what book
trillion
I
and a
had.
trillion plus
It would
1,000. So as you can see,
be a slaughter factory
they're
alongside
sparser
the
than
church
they are
and
for
dual
just the numbers
cabinet,
between 0 and 1,000. But there's a
whatever else.
meaningful number of them.
The surf over
we've
there
got,
and under the keel.
1
Why
trillion
not?
751, 1 trillion 787.
AR-15
The
0-1
Boeing
hiding
engineers are
behind the
probably
plushie.
pleased that that's in there. And the actual length of that list is 37. So there's 37 primes in there. So the proportion out of the 1,000 is 0.37. Or the way we were phrasing it, it was 1
So
out
this
of
is
something,
standard
so we
model
might
for
take
me.
the
You just
reciprocal
didn't
of that
realize
into
that
1,000
all those numbers
divided
went there
by
right
the number
now.
in there. And it's about 1 in
Then I
every,
did this,
27.
followed
But what
by
the
this,
mathematician
which
would
is
do
this, by
is
any
they
other
would
different
say,
standard of an
I know
output
this
on the
very
value,
true
but
fact
compressed
about
into
prime numbers, which is
operating
that the
of hot
density of
plasmic
prime numbers
fusion
near
up to
a
the
given
cosmic
value,
radiation
like a
background
trillion,
in the day.
is around the natural log. So I'm going to type math.log here, which takes a natural logarithm of that number. And we can check if you want. What is
I
the
don't know, did you
documentation
set that
tells
up?
us. It says this returns the logarithm
Scale
of
would be
x
size on
to
the
a given
size of the
base. If
screen
the
to the
base is not
output.
specified,
But if it
returns
didn't
the
look
natural
right,
logarithm,
I
which
wouldn't
is log
accept
base
it as a
e
baby
of
duck.
x. And
Scale
just
can
as
be
a
pretty
reminder,
squishy. You got to be
if
careful with that.
anyone,
It's like, well,
needs a
all the
little
letters
reminding
got to
on
be
what logarithms
no.
mean, we talked about this all in the last lecture, so
No,
feel
in the
free to pop
quadrant where I
over.
put that, I have
But
to
when you
write
have
them
an
on a
expression
different scale
like ln
because it
x,
has a
which
different
is telling us
effect.
the log with base e of x equals y.
But you
That's
wouldn't know
saying the
that.
same thing
You
as
just
e
need to
to the
know
power of y
arbitrarily
equals x.
adjust
It's asking the question
the letters
to
of the
what
name of the
equals
company,
x.
or
So
adjust
for
the
example,
code, or just need the
natural
code.
log of 10,
Play
it's
blindfolded
about
to anything
2.3.
else in general
And that's a kind
relativity,
of
but
useful value
it's
to know
good
if
to
you want
know
to
the
make
name
conversions
under the
between
sector of whether
exponentials
it's
written
a
with e versus exponentials written with
medication
10.
or
The
food,
natural
because
log of 10
otherwise you're
is
just
around
going to get all
2.3.
kinds of hot garbage in the
So
stock market,
that's saying the
or
same thing as e
players
to
on the
2.3
field
equals
of
10.
defense stock.
Now the cutesy fact here is that prime numbers, their density is actually kind of related to this natural logarithm. If we went over and we took the natural
General
log
relativity
of a trillion,
form, I'd
which
play that
was,
board pretty
the
limited
number
to
defining
see
our range
what
at the
we
lower end of that
consider
range,
the devil to
you'd see
be.
that it's 27.
Wouldn't
And
be me or
that
you.
was
We can
about
tell
the,
what me and you are.
the
You're wearing a
ratio we were
blue
looking at
shirt, I'm
before,
wearing a
1,000
hoodie.
divided by the length of our list of primes. I mean, that's quite close. And the
Prime
fact
was
that,
for us to integrate that
happens
form
at
of the
all is-
chessboard to
I don't-
get to
I might not call that my favorite piece of
multi-matrixing,
math because I use
calculus
that term a lot,
valuables
but it's
on
definitely
10
gonna
to the
make
negative
the list of
26
top 5
on, or
favorite
negative
pieces of math.
36, excuse me.
That the log with base e has anything to do with prime numbers.
6.63.
So I want to show
10
you another
10 to the
kind of
negative
cute fact
34
associated
J's.
with the relationship between natural logs and
You
primes.
would, yeah, if
Because
I
you might
didn't
wonder,
do
why
that
is it
move
that
and
we
I
call
wanted
this
to play it
thing
real
the natural
cool,
logarithm?
everybody dead in
There's
the
lots
room.
of logarithms, lots of different bases.
You know
What
it
makes
does.
this
It
one more
happens a lot
natural?
of time by
And I think
product
the
of the
more often you
classroom.
see it show up in nature,
That's nasty
the
though,
more
because
that
like I
meaning
said, it
starts to
comes
kind
up,
of
well,
make
I
sense.
just need to do
So
my
I'm gonna play
homework
a game
assignment
that
instead
will
of
seem
getting my
truly
nickel worth
strange,
out of
for
you,
a
kid.
moment.
And what that
I'm
means is
gonna
I need
take
those
an
vector
infinite
positions from the
series,
kid to help that kid graph
for
off a
example, one
problem.
that's, a favorite among
Might
a
be
lot
the
of people.
farm, the
You take
mechanic
1
shop,
over
the
1
psychologist
plus 1
come
over
in here
4
to pi to the
plus 1 over
4.
9 plus 1 over 16. And in general, you're always taking 1 over n
Track the
squared.
devil.
And you
What
add
is
up all
it?
of those numbers. If you
Track
keep adding
Mike,
and adding
rabbit
them,
order.
they'll stay
Idols
below
will
a
get
certain
you
bound, and they'll
fucking
actually
hammered.
approach a certain number.
Because you
And
be
it
living
was
on
this
the dollar on
open
the
question
dime
that
and forget
grew up.
about
It was
intrinsic
posed in
bottles
Basel
of
by, I think, one
water
of the
and
movies
diamonds, bro.
for a while, like what is
When
the
you
number
need
that this
money
equals?
or being
And,
dynamic to a
eventually
general
Euler,
autonomous
genius of the
blade,
day,
I'm supposed to
was able to
be
prove that it
there,
equals
and
pi
if
squared
I'm
divided by
there,
6,
when the
which is
and
very
or, but the
beautiful.
flip
The idea
flop
that pi
wasn't
is at all
necessary
related
to get the
just
breadboard to
adding
do.
up
Now,
the
I'll
reciprocals of
give
squares.
you a
But it
timeline,
gets crazier than
evolution,
that. I'm going to play
Prometheus,
this weird game
Gresham's
that's
law, and
going
Bell's
to kick out
equality, and
terms that don't
Bernoulli's
look like prime
principle of
numbers,
how math
keep the
works.
prime numbers, and then also scale down ones that are sufficiently prime similar for us. I'll show you what I mean. So 1 is not at all a prime. We're not even going to include it. 2
Think
is
it's
a
going
prime,
again.
so I'm going to keep that
Slow
1 over
down,
2 squared
GPT-3.
term. 3 is a prime, so I'm going to keep the 1 over 3
Well, do we
squared
put up?
term.
Oh, sure, why not?
4, it's
Only
not a
into the
prime.
7 minutes.
But I'm not going to kick it out
You bet
because
It's
it
something
is
they've done
the power
before.
of a prime.
Shouldn't be anything
So I'm
regular
gonna
to
say
them.
that 1 over 4
But
squared
in there,
term
they had it
can
planned.
stay,
Out here, they
but because
don't.
you're only the square of a prime, I'm going to scale you down by a half. Okay? It's kind of a way of saying you look sort of like a prime, but because you're only a power of it, I'm scaling you down by that power. 5 is a prime, so we keep the 5th term.
Well, they wouldn't.
6,
You
not a
wouldn't, because I'm
prime,
not thinking
not a
of
power
you. He
of a
might
prime.
pick up
We
on
don't
me
like
right
it at
now,
all.
but I'd
It gets
play it
kicked out.
half in, half
7, we
out. So
keep
maybe
it.
they'd run in
And you
direct
can sort of
physics
see where I'm
instead of
going here,
dealing
but
with
I'll
me.
write a couple more
I'd
examples.
be fine with that.
It's such a bizarre way to manipulate a series. You would think
Why?
that this
Shouldn't
isn't
be
going
in
to
your
get us
fridge
anything nice
while
at
you're
all.
banging your wife.
8, it's a power of a prime, but because it's
So I
a
need the one where he
cube,
slows down
I'm
the
going to
clock and
scale
uses
it
the
down by a
reset on the
factor of 3.
Arduino.
So I'm going to take 1/3 of the 8th term.
Because of
9,
course, if I
it's
just
the
had a
square of
damn
a prime,
breadboard, I
so
could
take
maybe
one
get
half
one Jedi to
of
run
the
it.
All
ninth.
new
10 gets
X-Lite
kicked out, we
Mega
ignore it
Pro.
entirely. 11.
In the last
stays
couple of
as
videos,
is.
we built
You
our
would be all prideful
555
as shit about it.
A-stable
Be like,
timer,
I'm
which is putting out
thirsty,
this
bro.
oscillating
Power of
clock
the prime.
pulse. And we built a
Because the
monostable.
series was squaring them all, it's 1 over the power of that prime squared, but we scale it down by whatever that power is. Right. Now, because we've manipulated this in a pretty chaotic way, I mean, the primes are distributed in a pretty random fashion, you might think that this is completely uncomputable. It's just a crazy situation. And it's going to be smaller. You know for sure it's going to be smaller than the pi squared over 6, because we left out the 1, we left out a lot of composite numbers, and prime powers bigger than, with a power bigger than 1, we scaled down. So it's definitely a
Slice
smaller
this
number.
thing up, put it
You might be able
here,
to guess where this is
here.
going based on the title of the video. What it ends up equaling
Get all the shiny
is the
around.
natural log of what it was before, of pi squared over 6. 26. And that's not